Saturday night from something we call the Honor Flight. It was a 3-day excursion. It was completely organized by a group up near Sacramento, and it's a very active group. There are a number of them throughout the north area in California, some of which are, for one reason or another, beginning to quiet down and fail. This one is not. It's quite active. And I was contacted by them on fairly short notice and asked if I would like to attend the Honor Flight. I said that I would. Previously, I said that I would not, but that's another story. I don't want to use that time here. However, I want to tell you about what the Honor Flight's about. First of all, it's 2 simple, basic things they're trying to do. It's 3 days in Washington, D.C. And what they want to do is to show veterans the various murals, service murals, and a few other side things that would interest people who had served in any of the services. The second one is to make the veterans understand how much they are appreciated, and that occurs throughout this 3 days. I've never had my hand shake so many times and thanked for my service, as humble as it might have been. And I had people come up and had to go further. They wanted to hug. I got kissed, but I was up for that. I mean, it's okay. In any case, it is an emotional experience as much as it is an educational one. And I would like to encourage anybody who would care to go on one of these honor flights to fill out an application here and get into the queue for that, and you'll be notified when it occurs. In any case, I want to tell you a little bit about how they prep us. We had a meeting prior to luncheon. Oh, incidentally, there are no expenses involved in this for the veterans. It's all taken care of. Everything I mentioned, the things I'm showing you here. We had a luncheon to attend. It was essentially a briefing as to what it was going to be. And at that luncheon, we were issued all the things you see on the table here. This, you're not allowed to check luggage. It's all carry-on, and this is your carry-on. Well, you only need a couple changes of underwears and socks and what have you, and not much else. And so it actually served quite well, and it's something you can stuff in the overhead bin very simply. And of course, there's the hat. Korean, that was my service. So I got a Korean hat. This you wear all the time that you're there, except you take it off to sleep. That's about it. And this clearly identifies you. When you're going through security at the airports, you carry your driver's license or your picture, government issued picture ID as they call it, and also your gate pass that they issue you. And you whisk through the security areas with just a glance through the thing. And it's the treatment at the airports, incidentally. People are coming at you from all sides to shake your hand. When you arrive back at SFO, you go through a parade down the center of the concourse, all the way through past security once again, and people are pouring out from the restaurants, and everybody's clapping. They have a bagpiper there. They had a contingent of over 24 policemen who stood as we entered the portal back into the airport. We were standing and saluting, standing at attention and saluting as we walked between them. And as I say, a bagpiper accompanied us. Needless to say, that was getting the attention of everyone at the airport because it was very loud. And people were coming out, clapping, and just a tremendously emotional experience. So they also gave us a slicker to carry in case there's some weather or wind to take care of us as we come away. And a goodie bag here, which had all kinds of snacks in it, things, one thing and another. Some things remain. And the shirt, the t-shirt. And this had to be worn. open that thing. Yes, that's worn all the time, and it's red. Now, we had people who went along, one for each of us, called the Guardian, and they were assigned a similar shirt that was a brilliant blue, about the color of your blue shirt. And they were clearly identified, so that in the massive crowds that are around all of the memorials, you could be identified immediately and seen. They checked us when we boarded the bus, and I must mention the buses. The buses are the giant touring type, carry 60 people, and they have a giant in the back, and two cops, one on a motorcycle and one in either an SUV or a cop car, who lead us through the traffic. We blew through red lights. We went in places we weren't supposed to. They took us up to in Arlington, they took us up to, for the change of the guard, where buses are not permitted, and drove right up to the place so we didn't have to walk. The other thing they gave us was wheelchairs for everyone. In fact, when we pulled up to the airport to go on the first evening, our first morning, we meant to be there at 6 in the morning, the wheelchairs were all at the curb waiting for us. As soon as we got out of our cars, we were instructed to sit in a wheelchair. I mean, there was no choice made. You didn't walk in. Sit in the wheelchair, and then they wheeled us in. And that way they could control the situation in the flow of traffic to handle all of the Guardians and veterans. And this was a weird experience. And I thought to myself, well, I want to spend time in a wheelchair for 3 days. So when we finally got there and began to get off the bus to see the various memorials, I turned the wheelchair down and I said, I don't need that, and I didn't. So I walked around. And later on, I discovered the wheelchair turned out to be real handy because I was carrying a backpack with some junk in it, and I found out that the wheelchair, first of all, if you used it and handles in the back, you could almost use it as a walker and then jump your junk in the seat. And when you got tired, you could sit in a wheelchair. And that happens from time to time. You always find a spot in the shade. If the walking got to be a little too much, you can sit and take a rest. I'm 84 years old, so I do get tired a little more easily than I used to. However, back to the bus, the police, they cut through the traffic and they made as many stops as we did make possible. I've listed all those stops up here, and you can see those. At the conclusion of the talk, I would invite questions, and I'll stay as long as necessary to answer any you may have. And I brought some cookies along, some of which came in a goodie bag. I didn't have it to touch. In any case, you're invited to come up and have them all. Also, are there any Vietnam veterans here today? Good. Please, I brought back 3 buttons from the Vietnam, the veterans, Vietnam War up there. And these are pins, and you're welcome to have those because I'm not a Vietnam veteran. And well, one of the other things I thought was unusual, the VFW from up in the Sacramento area, as we came into the airport on Wednesday, they were lined up. There were 6 of them with their flags, and we passed between them, and they handed out the medal to me, and they were saluting us. They were the VFW riders, all of their Harley people, in other words, and they turned out as well. Various groups turned out for us all along the way and in Washington as well, and saw some interesting things. I took a ton of pictures, and I wish I could show them, but they're all right here. I had to learn how to download them in for Roger, but we'll get to those later. I'm writing an article that will appear in Woodbridge Life, and it will give some of the other details you're not hearing right now. And that'll be at the end of July when that issue comes out. And that kind of concludes what I have to say about this. I say it. Thank you very much. Quite well.